Hello, my name is BC Oladipupo and welcome to my podcast. My website can be found at www.inspiredwords.org. Today I'll be sharing on the process of faith lessons from Abraham. When Abraham was 99 years old, God appeared to him and told him that Sarah, his wife, will have a child for him. At this time, he was obviously old and Sarah was 89 years old. Now let's have a look at Abraham's response to what the Lord told him. Genesis 17 verse 17, and I read, "Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old, and shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear?" From Abraham's response at this point in time, he was not only concerned about Sarah that was 90 years old, but even at himself. I will read the first part of Genesis 17:7 again for the sake of emphasis. Then Abraham fell upon his face and laughed, and said in his heart, Shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? Fast forward, the Lord did as he said, and Abraham did have a child. This can be found in Genesis 21. He called the name of his son Isaac. There is no doubt that this miracle must have had a great impact on Abraham and Sarah. Sarah died at 127 years old and had Isaac at 90. Therefore, when Sarah died, Isaac must have been at least 36 years old. In the process of time, Abraham asked his servant to get a wife for Isaac, and Isaac got married at 40 years old. This can be found in Genesis 25 verse 20. After Sarah died and Isaac got married, Abraham married again and had 6 children. This can be found in Genesis 25 verses 1 and 2. And I read Genesis 25 verses 1 and 2. Then Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she had 6 children, and the name of the children can be found in verse 2. Abraham had 6 more children. At this point, he must have been at least 140 years old, considering the fact that he was 100 years old when he had Isaac. In Genesis 17:17, he laughed and said in his heart, Can a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? So what happened to Abraham at 140 years old? We have no account that he struggled to have further children. He did not have 1 child, but 6 children. I think it is safe to say that Abraham had concluded that with God nothing shall be impossible. Abraham's personal journey and walk with God had boosted his faith. When the Lord visited Abraham in Genesis 18, the Lord said to him, Is anything too hard for the Lord? Genesis 18 verse 14. Now, let's look at some other encounters that Abraham had over his lifetime. Abraham gave his wife to Abimelech, and the Lord fought on his behalf. Genesis 20 verses 3 to 11. Abraham had Isaac at 100 years old. Abraham received Isaac back when he almost sacrificed him and when the Lord tested him. Genesis 22. This was Abraham's journey and walk with God. If Abraham had not cooperated and had Isaac, he would not have gone ahead to have 6 more children at 140 years old. We can see Abraham's journey of faith. Each step of faith leads us to another. However, we must take the first step. We need to take steps to make a journey. So, my short exhortation today is this. The process of faith is a personal journey for all of us. We all need to walk with God and take those steps of faith required. Sometimes the steps come in forms of invitations. Perhaps you have been offered something in your mind you wonder, how can I do this? Could it be an invitation from God to step up higher? If Abraham did not have Isaac and pass all his tests, he probably would not have had 6 more children at least 140 years old, considering he was concerned having a child born to him at 100 years old. Let us not limit God. Proverbs 4:18, and I read, But the path of the just is as the shining light that shines more and more unto the perfect day. This is how our walk of faith should be. The Lord has great plans for us. Remember that it's God that is doing the work. All we have to do is trust Him and obey Him. The one who upholds all things by the word of His power can never, never fail. Thanks for listening.